Since Spacies.
G'day invaders and welcome to Since Spacies, and we are now set for another bloody gaming podcast, and I am joined by three lovely gentlemen from all parts of the globe, starting with Uncle Chunt.
Hi. Yes, I'm lovely. Nice to meet you.
And we've also got Top Hat Gaming Man and also Luke Street. How you doing, guys?
Hello, I'm good despite you keeping me up to a ridiculous hour of the evening.
Always grumpy.
Hence why I'm in my nightgown.
Are you done?
The nightcap.
You finished? And we're going to be going through a couple of questions that may upset a bunch of people, but before we get into doing that, because that's always fun, before we get into that, I've got a couple of questions for you guys. I'll start with you, Luke, first of all. Your first console and the first game that you had on it.
My first console is incredibly boring. It's literally the Super Nintendo, which is, again, a great console, as everybody knows, but it's nothing particularly crazy. And the first game that I had on it was Super Mario All-Stars and F-Zero simultaneously.
All-Stars,
That's pretty cool. If you're going to kick off, that's the best way to do it. In fact, quite a few people who have been on the podcast have started off with their Super Nintendos as their first console, so you're not alone. And also your favourite game of all time. No pressure.
Favourite game of all time? I'm going to go with something that I've played recently, Final Fantasy X.
Nice.
It was just incredible. Everything about that game is just perfect as far as JRPGs go.
Including the laughing scene?
Yeah, that wasn't cringy at all.
No, not at all.
It's okay. That's the point. It's supposed to be cringy.
Yeah, no, it was fine.
I love Final Fantasy X. It's in one of probably my top 3 Final Fantasy games.
That was intensely cringy, that scene, but apart from that, I always get stuck in one part of it and then I can't get past, so I got to give that another try. I've got it on the Vita, actually.
Nice.
And what games are you currently playing?
Currently, I'm playing a lot of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. So that's kind of the current thing that I'm playing. And the second game I'm playing a lot of at the moment is Earthworm Jim 2 for the Super Nintendo.
I've got that. I was donated to the channel, actually, and that is, an awesome game.
Indeed.
It's the most 90s game ever created.
And how good does the soundtrack come out on the Super Nintendo for that particular game? I mean, I've got it on the Saturn, and yes, you've got CD quality sound on that, but the Super Nintendo really does hold up well compared to even the CD quality.
Oh yeah. For me, it's just as good. It brings out kind of everything 90s about it. It's one of my favourite games of all time, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful game. One
thing you can definitely say, it's the best cow launching simulator ever made. And Top Hat, your turn. First console ever. I actually don't know this one.
Well, I was born into gaming, moulded by it somewhat. So, I suppose, can you even call it a console? My first gaming platform was an Amstrad CPC 464 microcomputer, which I got when I was 3 years old.
Holy crap.
Okay. Do you remember much from that? Like, free?
No, yes. I can't remember which was my actual first gaming experience because I was so young, and I used to get taken to the arcade regularly even before that. So I remember just bashing buttons like an absolute lunatic, like for as long as I can remember. But first memory.
I was going to say, but has anything changed there?
You guys now.
So you can't remember the first game, or
I'm
one
going
of the
to say
first?
Arkanoid. Arkanoid's quite an early one.
God, I love Arkanoid. That is such a damn good game back in the day. Breakout on steroids. Favorite game of all time?
That is a tough question. I'm always chopping and changing my mind on this one. Such a broad question.
Sonic.
Definitely not Sonic. But I'm going to say Plock. Ever play Plock?
I've got Plock. I did it.
What do you think?
Love the music's freaking awesome on that one. It needed a save feature. To me, that was the one thing that let it down. But now that I've hacked my Super Nintendo Mini, that gives me now an excuse to go back and give it another try, because I love the quirky humor on it. It was a Yoshi candidate before Yoshi Island came out, wasn't it? It was being pushed to Nintendo, and they were so close to actually taking it on as an official Nintendo product.
I played it on stream a few nights ago, and people pointed out how certain levels looked quite similar to Yoshi's Island, which I'd never noticed before, but it's definitely the case. Like,
it'd be interesting to know if, because it was pushed towards Nintendo, whether or not they looked at that and went, we should be doing it, and whether they just directly ripped it off. That's not very Nintendo-like, but they have been known to do that in the past.
Well, Rayman ripped off, didn't he? Rayman is like a direct rip-off of Clock. Like with that arms that come off the body.
Yep.
I like that look of it.
No, it's definitely underrated. Not enough people know about it. And will it be successful in 2018? I don't know. I think it would have a niche little market, but it wouldn't be I think we've moved on away from the whole mascot era of video gaming. And what do you... Oh, yes, and that's a good point and bad point, but... what are you currently playing at the moment?
I played a little bit of Mystical Ninja on the Super Nintendo. I was playing that today. Also known as Ganbei Goemon in Japan.
Yes.
And I've been playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for a while, but it's getting rather irritating at this stage, and too much grinding.
As the whole series does. I've been playing that, and also Xenoblade Chronicles on the 3DS. I love that game. It's just, to me, it's closest. I think it's the closest you can get to a perfect JRPG, minus the graphics. If they could do a HD take on that game, so that Shulk doesn't look like he's had Vaseline smeared all over his face, that would be great.
Final Fantasy VII to me.
Yeah, that's true. And Final Fantasy VII is coming, so that's something we are going to get. I don't know if Xenoblade Chronicles 1 or Shulk will ever make another appearance in another game. I doubt that will ever happen. It'll be interesting, unless it's a Smash Brothers game. Okay, and so that's got through the introduction questions much quicker than I expected. So let's just rip straight into the topics. Now, recently I've seen a few people posting some games that they've been playing, and they're quite proud of it. And I sit there and I think, why are you telling anyone about that? me personally, I don't mind my Dead or Alive volleyball. I'm going to just put it out there. I actually like the graphics.
Hell yeah. Those physics, mate.
So, I put it to you, gentlemen. What is a game that you've played that you probably shouldn't have? And it's not just about the pervy aspects. I mean, just like another one, for example, is Animal Crossing. I love my Animal Crossing, and apparently, according to American sheriffs on YouTube videos in the past, no adult has any excuse to be playing that game, and they are sick and twisted. Well, guilty. So, who wants to take this? Who's got a game that they want to share that they probably shouldn't be sharing?
I'll go first. I am ashamed to say that I am a fan of the Borderlands series.
Why would you be ashamed of that?
It's just very lowbrow, isn't it, to like first-person shooters? It's like, but everyone likes those.
But I argue with that it's actually got a role-play aspect to it. Like, you are leveling up as you play, so that's what keeps you coming back.
That is true.
And
it's very open-worldy, shooty though, isn't it?
Which is not usually your cup of tea, is it?
Exactly. It goes against everything I don't like, so I shouldn't like it.
What about yourself there, Luke? Is there something that you shouldn't be sharing, but will?
I play heaps of awful games, but one that I've played recently that I'm quite ashamed of is that I got quite into playing Advanced Warfare. Like addicted to Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. And yeah, it was just...
Goodness.
I felt embarrassed for that game because it was awful.
What kept you coming back then?
I don't know. Boredom, I think. and I legitimately convinced myself that it was fun.
COD hype train.
Yeah, like I genuinely thought this is the best game ever. I'm so enjoying this, and I didn't, not even for a second.
It must be good because everybody loves COD.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's my embarrassing one. Here's a recent one, but yeah, I'm a little bit ashamed of myself.
Yeah, I'll have to second that. So many. Oh no, only the reason why I say that is because there's so many choices in 2018 as to what you could be playing. There's no excuse to be playing Call of Duty. I don't understand the draw to it, but I know I'm going to get a whole stack of comments about that. There's a lot of people that's their thing. So,
well, that's fair, but they're wrong.
And Uncle Chunt, what about yourself there?
Okay, so I should be saying Doki Doki Literature Club, but I'm actually enjoying myself. But what I'm going to go back to is a game I wanted to be good, but it wasn't. But I enjoyed it so much because it was so bad. And that's Bruce Lee on the original Xbox. Don't know if anyone's played that. It's so freaking janky and bad.
I've seen one or two videos on it, and yeah,
it's unplayable, but it's so good. Like, I went back and back and back just to keep trying to get through the game because me and my mates went through a phase where we were just going through Bruce Lee movies for ages, and I found that game for dirt cheap. This is years ago, probably 10 years ago, and boy, was that a fun time. Alcohol was required.
Alcohol was involved. That was a contributing factor.
But yeah, I need to track down another copy because I have fond memories of that game.
Yeah, no, Bruce Lee is definitely... I mean, I guess you would be playing that game just simply because of the fact that it's got his name on the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, if it was, I don't know, Steve Seagal, maybe not.
Hey, man, I've got a soft spot for Seagal, man, even though he has his issues.
Yeah, he's got more and more issues as he continues to age.
His movies are so bad, they're so good.
Okay. Nah, for me, it's just Dead or Alive and Animal Crossing. I don't really... Most of the stuff that I touch, I think... well, actually, Pokemon's probably the one that I would say is my most embarrassing game that I've played, and that's not such an embarrassment, but I couldn't get into it at the start because I saw the Pokemon series as a piss-weak RPG compared to what I was playing back then, and also I think I was a bit too old for Pokemon at the time, but as I've gotten older, it has got more complex, so... I don't mind saying that I play Pokemon as an adult.
It's in the RPG region. No. So yeah, these were like the pinnacle of RPGs in the UK. So yeah,
apart from Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, we kind of had Final Fantasy VII and the Pokemon series. So yeah,
I remember. Well, Final Fantasy VII was the first one I ever got to play, and the build up for that was like 2 years of just a screenshot, and how big it's going to be. It's going to be on 3 discs, and it's like, wow, you can have more than 1 disc. I didn't know that. And that was the first Final Fantasy game I got to play, but it wasn't the first role play game I got to play. That was Phantasy Star, actually, on the Sega Master System. And we didn't get Final Fantasy because Nintendo wasn't a huge thing in Australia at the time, and because I was playing on a Sega Master System, that's what I got to get my hands on for the first time, which leads me into the next topic, actually. Nintendo's huge in America. We see on YouTube all the time Angry Video Game Nerd, or who used to be Angry Video Game Nintendo Nerd, wasn't it? His original name. So he actually started out as a Nintendo only platform because that's how big Nintendo is in America. But my question is, did Nintendo in the 80s brainwash the Yanks? Did they absolutely just convince Americans that there's no other alternative, and that is the only platform that you have available to you as a gaming choice? Who wants to kick this one off?
Well, we vaguely discussed this the other day, didn't we? And we think kind of there was a massive gap in the market that was caused by
when they used to believe that Atari was the only gaming company before they believed Nintendo were the only gaming company. So they always believed there was only one gaming company anyway.
Because in television wasn't a thing. No, it wasn't an option.
And Wii kind of progressed and went on to microcomputers, which America didn't really adopt. They didn't really go for the whole microcomputer thing, which is the reason why. Sorry, Richard, you want to jump in?
Yes,
I will let you.
Because the response I always get is, we don't want microcomputers. We could have had an IBM or Apple II because apparently we was all millionaires.
Oh, I've seen this recently.
That's what I always get.
Okay.
Yeah, so there was absolutely no real gaming in America, which is why there was the American video game crash, as we now try and refer to it.
Yeah.
And then the gap in the market that was left from that, Nintendo capitalized on and was like, yeah, we're just going to throw our seed everywhere and we're going to rescue you. And it was ridiculous.
Do you think, though, that Americans didn't want to catch on to the whole microcomputers scene because, well, let's just call it as it is, that they're lazy. They don't want to have to type in any commands. They don't want to have to deal with setup. They just want instant plug it in, press start, off it goes. Do you think that was a huge contributing factor, perhaps?
From my experience, I was bloody 3 years old and I had no problem whatsoever. Like, it was on my Amstrad, so it's not that bloody difficult.
Yeah, but the average street is considerably more educated than the average teenager in America, so that's just the way that it goes, I suppose.
No, but don't you honestly think that had something to do with it? I mean, the fact that you just plug in the cartridge, you turn it on, and the game starts. You don't have to mess around with settings and load times and whatnot. That must have been a contributing factor.
You don't have to mess around much, though, do you? You just open the cartridge and it says something like, press enter and then press play, or something like that. And that's as far as it really goes.
And then you go and make yourself a nice cup of tea while it sorts itself out, and then you come back.
So that's just to explain the whole microcomputer thing, why that didn't take off in America. But then again, the elephant in the room is Sega. Why didn't that kick off in the States? My theory is that it was because it was handled by a toy company, Tonka. And Tonka are better known for, making little toy trucks and putting that in the aisles of Toys R Us, etc. And that's kind of the same reason why Nintendo failed in Australia, was that Nintendo was being distributed by a toy company, Mattel, and they did.
The UK too. Mattel.
And they were doing it in the UK. They were doing it really, really bad. Like, they were just taking forever to get games to come out. I spent so much money in important games that should have been available, but I had to wait otherwise 6 months to a year for it before it came to Australia. I've got my collection of Street Fighter 2 is all either Japanese or American, and they cost like $150 or $160 each because of those guys. If I had the chance to buy the official local product, I wouldn't have been importing them. Mind you, I did get paid to review.
Sorry, you can buy them all again. But luckily with Street Fighter 2 now, you can get Street Fighter 2 now for only £60
on the Switch?
Yeah, £60 on the Switch, which must be really nice for you, considering you were paying $160 when it came out.
Well, you know what? I actually want to get that. That will be that's the next topic. We'll go away from that. But
I'm not surprised, how Sega didn't quite catch on. I mean, when you consider they've got Sega of America conflicting with ideas with Sega of Japan over the years, so it just seems to be a natural thing of if you can't get your heads of state in order, all the other heads below are going to have an issue.
But this was all from before that was even an issue. There was no Sega of America back when the Master System was being distributed in America, and I think that kind of contributed to the fact that they had no presence in the States. The Sega Master System was a technically superior machine. It actually had more capabilities than the NES. And as someone that's new to the NES library, I've only got 2 Famicom games. I haven't really had much exposure to the NES as a console, as a platform. I'm yet to be impressed. I'm sorry, I'm going to call it. Super Mario Brothers is an addictive, fun game. There's no getting away from that. And so is Zelda. But I can't get into their games. I'm going to try. I think it was 891 who was saying on a previous video that he's got the same issue, that he's going to be doing a series of videos, and I'm going to be doing the same thing as a Sega fanboy, trying to get into the NES games and liking them. I might struggle. I don't know, but Rich. Oh, sorry, Topic Gaming Man. Sorry. You've got a bit of an extensive library in the NES. When did you first get started with NES?
Well, here's my story. 1993, my uncle bought a Super Nintendo with Street Fighter 2 on the platform, because he bought it specifically because he wanted Street Fighter 2. Like everyone else in the UK, that's why people got into Nintendo. It was nothing to do with Nintendo. It's purely Street Fighter 2.
Guilty, but I also wanted F-Zero. That game was awesome.
Okay. But yes, anyway, he had a Super Nintendo. I was waiting to get a Super Nintendo of my own for Christmas, as I enjoyed his. And during the 6 months lapse in between Christmas and playing his, we used to have this really trampy lady on our street, and she used to knock on every door selling second-hand goods.
This story is funnier and funnier every time I hear it.
And one day she just turned up with this monstrosity of a games console with the word Nintendo on it. It was the ugliest thing I'd ever seen. This horrible, disgusting grey box.
The shoebox, I used to call it. And I wish there was more ladies like that, actually, because imagine if they were coming around now selling retro games. That'd be handy. I wonder when that tramp's going to come around again.
It's the same now. You get the Scummy Mummies on Facebook. It's exactly the same scenario. It's just the retro version.
Oh, I've heard of Yummy Mummies, but not the Scummy ones. No, okay.
Probably the reason why we don't hear about the Scummy ones.
My friends' consoles that they left at their house when they kicked them out.
Now, Uncle Chunt, have you ever owned or even touched an NES?
Oh yeah, when I was a kid, we used to have a neighbour. They had an NES, and we played the obligatory Duck Hunt, Mario, Maniac Mansion. I think it's SWAT or whatever it is. It's like multiple games in one, where you target the windows and you got to sneak into this building, and I can't remember what it's actually called.
Hogan's Alley.
I have no idea. I can't remember, but we played it a lot. But yeah, so I grew up with others having NES. We were always kind of a Sega household, Master System, Mega Drive, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I think when you look back at it, if you're trying to get into a retro console that you never played, it's ultimately going to be more difficult because you don't have that emotion attached to it, and you're kind of going in raw, and it might not be what you think it is, especially with a hyped up system like the NES. So it's going to be difficult to go back to those old games when you're not attached to it in the first place. But yeah, look, I was never really a big Nintendo kid. Maybe by proxy, because our parents were always buying Sega stuff, but we had plenty of mates that had Nintendo stuff, and it just never really clicked until the Super Nintendo for me.
Well, I'm going to get back to the original point, and I'm going to put a picture post-edit of a photo that I once saw, where it showed the inside of what would have been a typical American toy store, which was selling Nintendo and nothing but Nintendo. And it's quite scary when you see this picture, and there's not even a hint of Master System or anything else anywhere. And this was never seen in Australia. In fact, even as big as Sega was, there was still some sort of corner for Nintendo or Atari even. And it just, that picture really freaked me out when I saw it, and it just got me to thinking how obsessed the Americans were with Nintendo as a product. And
what do you mean were?
Well, yeah, but I mean,
all they talk about on YouTube now.
Yeah, and then how the American, the Nintendo, rough tactics that they had at the time perhaps contributed to that. Not allowing developers to make any games at all for any other system, and on top of that, you're only limited to 3 releases per year or something because of a chip shortage. That's insane.
They also made deals with American storefronts that if they was to sell Nintendo products, they wasn't allowed to sell any products made by Sega. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Well,
holy crap!
That probably contributes to the fact that picture that I'll show has no other system at all in there. That's probably on one of those deals. Yeah, it's just it's really scary. And I don't know. 2018, they would never be allowed to get away with tactics like that.
Hell no.
Which is why Sega, when they got to the Mega Drives, actually before I get to that, Konami was setting up fake companies in order to allow themselves access to more chips. That was the kind of counter tactics that had to be used to take on Nintendo and their bully boy tactics. It was pretty
Sneaky
rough.
devils.
Well, speaking of Nintendo, the Nintendo Switch, we all love it. Do we? Do we not?
I haven't played mine since Mario Odyssey.
Oh, okay. We gotta know. We gotta. Actually, I've kind of eased. I've been playing my 3DS more actually lately. Playing Xenoblade Chronicles, Fantasy Life, a few other games on there that I'm getting into. For me personally, the problem with the Switch is that it's to take it on a train, it's too big, and I'm scared of dropping it. Whereas the 3DS has a more portable form factor. The Switch is something that I would take more on long trips overseas, etc. I would be into that, but
not too long though.
You don't go longer than 2 hours.
No more than 2 hours. That's right. So, what I was going to ask is there any releases on the Switch coming up that have got your interest? For me personally, it was touched on earlier. I can't wait to get my hands on that Street Fighter. Is that out already? That collection?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Where they've got like just about every version of Street Fighter 2 because they released like multiple versions, 5 or 6, whatever. No, I can't wait to get my hands on that and to be playing it on a HD form on a handheld. That's going to be awesome. I don't know how the controls on that are going to go though. I mean, doing a Hadouken with that 4-button layout, I think you'll need the Pro Control for that.
Just buy a Pro Controller because the Joy-Con controllers apparently aren't good enough.
Well, my brother is saying that he was going to buy it for me. Wayne, if you're listening, my birthday was a month ago. Still waiting, mate.
Jeez, dog act.
Just saying.
Jeez.
But anyone here got any releases for the Nintendo Switch that you're looking forward to, or
One. And
yeah.
that is Pokemon Switch, whenever that comes out. Because I want to see what they do with it. The last Pokemon game I really invested time into was Pokemon X on the 3DS, and before that, Pokemon Blue. So I'm not really kind of a massive Pokemon nut, but I like Pokemon Stadium enough that I saw a hint of something good in that game where I was like, you know what, if they had Pokemon on a console, that would be suitable to me, because I like the console experience. Bigger screen, graphics, and more power and all that kind of crap. And just the JRPG stuff. I think Pokemon's most people's first RPG experience these days, right? So if they can do it right on a console, take it with you on the Switch, I think it'd be perfect. And I can't believe they haven't done it yet. I mean, if they want to print money, just do it. But if they have Gen 1 Pokemon in it, that's my only caveat. I will probably not be interested unless it's got a Gen 1 Pokemon in it. But as far as games that have been announced for the Switch, I think that's pretty much the one that I'm kind of... Oh, sorry! Tropical Freeze. I correct myself. But besides that, that's about it.
Tropical Freeze. You really looking forward to that?
Hell yeah!
Top Hat Gaming Man, I'm going to let you take this one. Rehash.
Well, you see, I'm on time traveling because I've played most of the games of the future.
I saw that.
I'm sorry, but Tropical Freeze being re-released on the... I mean, okay, if you haven't played it on the Wii U, I get it. That's something that is going to be of benefit to you. But it's just the laziest thing I've ever seen them release. Like, to release a... What was that character? Poochie.
Poochie
On the Poochie the dog. The first thing I saw when I saw Cool Kong, or whatever the hell he's called...
Funky Kong. Cool Kong's better though.
Cool Kong. Like, come on. That was Funky Kong. Is that his name?
Yes.
Funky Kong, yeah.
Really?
Yes, really.
Well, it's no different than them re-releasing Mario Kart 8 and all the other ports that they've put over. I mean, they're just giving a second life to all these other games that nobody played.
Okay, let's just change the topic then a bit. Has Donkey Kong Country jumped the shark?
No, I think Nintendo has screwed that train up for Donkey Kong. Because they screwed up a lot of their franchise's potential with the Wii U because nobody bought it.
Is there any life left for Donkey Kong Country, you think? Oh, there's got to be something they can do with that franchise.
Now, I love those Donkey Kong platformers. Like I played through the first original 3 on the SNES countless times. Those country games, I love them. And Donkey Kong Country Returns, holy crap! I would have bought a Wii for that. Already had a Wii, but like I loved the shit out of that game. And I had a go on my brother's Wii U when he had it for a couple of months, and he had Tropical Freeze, and it was harder, but I really enjoyed it. He wasn't having too much of a good time with it, but I loved it. I was having a great time with it, and you know, that's probably because I didn't own it and I didn't get to play it that I'm excited to buy it. So there's probably a lot of me out there.
If you listen to Top Hat Gaming's advice and get yourself a Wii U, because he's been harping on that for the last month or so, you can actually then buy the Wii version and play it because it is backward compatible. That's one of the things.
The Wii version will be about a quarter off the price, so you're looking at
exactly. And the Wii,
I have to buy the console first.
well, the Wii U's not. Oh, okay, it's. To get it brand new is still relatively high in price, unfortunately. But if you get it, you can get it second hand here locally at EB Games for a reasonable price if you're interested, if you're keen. And I do honestly think that this system is worth getting in 2018. It's just got such it hasn't got an epically big library, but you've also got the Wii.
I find it comfier as well, like a lot comfier to hold that pad than the Switch.
Yeah, because it's got the comfortable backrest on the back there, and I know it just falls into your hand nicely. The only downside to this control and also the Switch is there's no analog triggers. I don't know why they didn't go down the path of having triggers. Maybe with the Switch, they couldn't make it into a portable form factor to have the Switch have a paddle or an analog. I don't know. They must have some reason, because that takes out the ability to have decent racing games, and I love my racing games.
So the problem with these ports is, like, I don't particularly see a problem with the ports because I understand why they're doing it, because they're targeting me. I'm the demographic that they're targeting these ports to, because they know that I didn't buy them and I didn't own a Wii U. So it's easy to say, if you have a Wii U, why don't you just buy the Wii U copy, because you already own the Wii U. But by the time you go and shop around for a Wii U for $100, $200 wherever you go, you could have already bought like 1 or 2 Switch games, and you could have bought those ports. So I think that's where that demographic's coming into. Like if I had a Wii U, I'd agree with you. I'd be like, yeah, I'll just go back and pick up a cheap copy of the game. But
I would be strongly.
The Wii U stuff, I vaguely agree with you on, other than the fact that you should have invested in a Wii U. Like I didn't. I'm in the same boat as you, but I missed out. But do we really need Dark Souls? Do we really need Doom?
No.
Like, they're just porting whatever they can. Anything they think
LA Noire.
LA Noire.
Why?
They're porting anything
that
they think.
was just such a random announcement, LA Noire. Like, it was a cool concept, an Australian-made game, by the way. There was such... Yeah, it was such a... And another game that I found out was Aussie, Sonic Mania. I just didn't realise that was an Australian putting that together. So that's
doing well done.
A future video, top 10 Australian games. I've even got the thumbnail ready. I just got to do it.
those other ports like Doom and Dark Souls and stuff, I mean, guaranteed they set aside a little team to go, look, figure out the Switch and how we use it, and let's just port a game over to figure it out before we actually pull resources into a fresh new game. That's probably the only reason why those ports exist.
So they're only testing the waters, because I was just thinking, what is their market? The people that wanted those games would have had PCs or some console that would have...
Yeah.
Like, it's not like there's a whole stack of Nintendo fanboys out there going, oh, this Mario is awesome, but I would love to get myself into that Dark Souls. They're just not the type of players that would...
These bigger developers and publishers, they're like, holy crap, there's 10 million Switches out there now? Well, we best jump into this game now. So
just throw any crap at it. Yeah.
Let's just figure out how to do it and just put something out, and then let's just make something. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have more original third-party content coming out soon.
Right, Rich is hyperventilating now. He's got something that he needs to say, and if we don't let him say, he will explode.
Go for it. So, you have the stage.
Don't screw it up.
Speaking of Doom and LA Noire and Scrim and all games like that, something I always hear from the Nintendo fanboys is, oh, it's great to have them on a Nintendo platform because people who have a Nintendo console which will finally have the opportunity to play those games. I've never met someone in my adult life who only owns a Nintendo console. You have to have a Nintendo console and something else because there's never enough content on a Nintendo console, ever. Can you think of anyone you've ever met who only has a Nintendo console? Because I haven't. Have you?
No.
No, you don't get people who just have a Nintendo console. That's a lie.
My brother, he only has a Switch.
Really?
Yeah,
He must have something else. Though. Oh, he sold. He sold. Okay.
He traded it in his PS3. He sold his PS4, I think. And he got a SNES Mini, so he just hacked that for his retro stuff, and he bought a Nintendo Switch. And he's been playing essentially just his Switch. But I understand, besides him, he's the only person that I know.
He must have not very much free time. He must be a very busy man.
Yeah, no, he's a legend. No, he really is. He's a legend. He's got 3 kids and a wife, and
because I think, I think that if you sat down and played every single Switch game, you could do it in about a week.
Yeah, no. There's
no. There's about 50 odd. There's more than 50 games now for the Switch, isn't there?
I mean good ones.
Good. Okay, sorry.
I still like ARMS. I don't care what anyone says. ARMS is good.
That was just a head scratcher for me of a release. So, have you guys played it?
I've had a little go.
Which game?
ARMS.
No, I wouldn't play that. No.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
To be able to play a game like that.
I don't even know. Yeah, I just know I'm touching it. It looks, yeah, crap.
You can barely use sonar.
I am really super keen, and I mean I bought a new Nintendo 3DS before I broke my other one. I bought the 3DS specifically for Animal Crossing. That was the big call for game for me, and I can't wait for Animal Crossing on the Switch. I don't know what it is about that series. I just I just love the fact that you could play that throughout the whole year, and there's still stuff that for you to unveil and explore and collect. And I think it's the collectathon side of that game that really appeals to me. And it's the only game that I play with myself and my wife also. She's also one of the occupants of one of the houses in there, and we send ourselves messages back and forth. So that's
that's cool.
Yeah, and she puts up disgusting stuff up there about me as the mayor of that town. All these lies about how I'm mismanaging the place. It's just, I'll go to the notice board and I'm, what's this? Who wrote this?
Cool.
Yeah, so that's a cool side of that game that I like, and I really do hope to get her in on the Switch version when that eventually comes to light. And you're right there, Chunt. I think a Switch version of Pokemon, it should have been out on launch. That should have been a launch game. Yeah. But we did get a good launch game with the Switch in Zelda Auto. Someone here disagrees. We won't touch that topic. But I do think Zelda was the launch game that they needed. They needed something to really fire that out. I am disappointed though, as a Wii U owner, that was supposed to be a Wii U exclusive. That was supposed to be the reason why you bought the Wii U game. And I feel that in a way that Nintendo kind of lied by also releasing it on the Switch and for launch day game.
Well, that doesn't do like Nintendo, does it?
No, they do never lie.
They never lie.
Well, they have a track record with this with Twilight Princess, don't they? They did the same thing with the GameCube and the Wii. They released the right-handed version of Link. No, the left-handed version. Sorry, he was a left-hander on the GameCube. And then he got released on the Nintendo Wii as a right-handy. They had to flip the whole game around just so that they could release that.
At least you can say the Wii U had a Game of the Year in 2016 or 17, whenever it was.
Yeah. That's something that some consoles can't say.
That's something.
Xbox One.
Oh, okay. Oh, great having me here. I appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me on, and yeah.
Well, that's another topic altogether, isn't it? Xbox and their issues.
Yeah.
I was very, very tempted to make as a topic on this podcast Microsoft buying out Microsoft buying EA, and or even worse, if EA are up for sale, what happens if Disney buys it? Like, no, I've not heard anyone talk about that.
I think Disney are well out of the game now. They shut down all their studios pretty much.
They shut it down because it was too hard to manage, but if they let a company like EA take the helm...
Well, maybe. I think they might have burnt their bridge with Disney and Star Wars. I think they might have stuffed up there because Disney aren't happy with them, with Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Yeah, but if they owned them, they could have... because those decisions that EA were making were because they're a separate company, and they were just trying to be as greedy as all heck. Nothing changes there with EA. Whereas if that was an entity controlled entirely by Disney, that would never have been a problem. That would never have come up as an issue. Or would
Daffy Duck is your hero.
Well, I think we got through our questions pretty quickly. What's going on next with Top Hat Chat?
Well, we're constantly evolving, really, aren't we? Yes, slowly. Trying to change things up.
I've got to bring to your attention, when are you going to change your URL? You haven't adopted youtube.com/tophatchat because you made it past your 1,000 subscribers mark. You haven't changed it.
Can we do it?
Yes, you can.
Oh.
You haven't changed it.
He hasn't done it on his.
So, because I wanted to share the link the other day on my last video, and I went to type in Top Hat Chat, user not found. Oh, okay.
We'll have to find out more about this. Yes. I'm new to this. He's supposed to be teaching me, and he's crap.
I haven't bothered put a layout page or videos.
Yeah, he hasn't done playlists.
Not recently.
Playlists.
He hasn't done anything.
Playlists.
He's lazy. He does not.
Playlists are important, but I don't know. YouTube's changing. They changed the mobile app the other day, and it was. And I just got the new update, and it's suggesting the most clickiest, baitiest,
Yes,
even more clickbait than Top Hat Gaming Man's channel. You know.
Oh snap!
YouTube's becoming nothing more than trend chasing, and that is a trend chasing. Who can get the most views off what a trend video? And most channels don't do anything now unless it's trend related. That's their only content.
I did say this to him about his playlists and stuff, though. I said you need to get playlists up because, like, sometimes when I'm watching YouTube, I'll click on something and I'll let it play through and I'll fall asleep, and it will just carry on playing through. It's instant watchman. It's nice and easy. I can see a lot of people watching his channel.
My highest performing playlist is my Let's Plays on Animal Crossing. So yeah, definitely worth looking at. Uncle Chunt, what have you got? You're doing your continued look into that.
Yeah, I'm still getting through Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yeah, that's the one.
I'm finishing it today. I've got about another, another 6 or 8 parts.
Is it pervy or is it more horror?
It's it's cutesy as hell at the moment, but it
changes. I know it gets
goes
dark
right into some dark territory.
Yeah,
and it's like a sharp kind of like, oh, this is a pleasant experience, and then, oh my god! I'm hoping I'm at that part today or tomorrow when I'm recording the rest of it. Look, I'm having a good time with it.
And if you haven't already done so, ladies and gentlemen, that is a free game, so you might want to head to the Steam store and grab it before it gets shut down or whatever, or they start charging, because it's free.
Yeah, it's a good time. Don't expect too much from it, but it's fun. I'd recommend going into it without seeing anything else because it will mess you up. And thankfully, my playthrough isn't the same as the playthrough that I've partly seen. So a lot of it has been a surprise for me so far.
Well, I haven't been watching your playthrough for that very reason, so I do apologise, but I want to keep it fresh.
I only watched like a quarter or maybe a third of someone's playthrough of it because I had the same thing. I'm like, okay, I can see where it's getting messed up, but I want to experience this for myself. So I totally understand that sentiment.
And before Top Hat falls asleep there, I just wanted to find out, did you break my Atari Lynx?
Did I break the Atari Lynx?
Yes, I heard you
It was already
mention...
broken.
What? Was it?
Really broken. I've not been able to get it to actually work.
Are you serious? So all
Yeah,
those
I've never
videos
managed
where
to
you're
get-
hiding it, holding it and admiring it, you're just looking at it.
Oh,
and
it's all lies. Yes, complete lies for the camera.
I
Oh,
thought
Top Hat Gaming Man exposed.
Yes, indeed.
I thought it was working the last time I saw that thing up and running. It's
I've not been able to get it to run so far.
It's probably him.
No. Oh dear, it broke on the flight. Well, guys, I've got to leave it at that because these two have to get to sleep. It is what 3 a.m. or something over there.
1:45. It's just that Richard's really, really lazy.
I'm okay.
And
But I am doing with man flu, by the way.
oh, okay,
Oh, that's a serious thing. Oh man, you
Why
shouldn't
didn't
have
you
even
tell
come
me?
on. Oh, you should
Honestly,
be resting.
that's a pass to say I'm out.
Yeah, totally, man. Jeez, we're blokes. We understand.
Well, before we wrap up, I'd like to say thanks to all my patrons, and if you haven't already done so, the link will be up on the screen. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe to Uncle Chunt, also Top Hat Gaming Man, because his videos are awesome. And you've also got the side channel there, Top Hat Chat, which eventually will become the main channel, or will it?
Who knows?
Who knows? We'll see what happens. Until then, my name has been Brian, and I've been gaming since Spacies. Thanks, guys.
Since Spacies.